Okay, that's what I was waiting for. Okay, so here we're here on a Friday morning, a weekly Zoom session, and we did a class. I guess it was yesterday in Mountain View. So we're going to pursue that. I'm not sure. The format of it was to me interesting. All right, and what sparked me a little bit with it is a couple of things. Ano Sensei one time, he kind of was teaching. No, actually, it was just a more of an individual thing. He was talking to a number of us, and he made a statement that I thought was real interesting. He said he never thought of Aikido as Japanese. And the reason he gave for it was he said, oh, Sensei talked about, quote unquote, the universe so much. Talked about the universe an awful lot, apparently. Daiuchu is the Japanese. Daiuchu is the universe. For example, I was teaching some Japanese students English, and we started talking about Star Trek. Uchu Dai Saksen is Star Trek in Japanese. So Uchu, Dai Uchu, the great universe. So apparently O-sensei felt, talked about the universe a lot. And the other thing is a lot of what O-sensei seems to talk about is related to Shinto and spirituality. And, he also one time codified it in one of his lectures, which has been translated, that he wasn't teaching religion. Now, he gave a qualification. He was very much into the Omoto religion because he was very close to Dekuchi Onisaburo. But his statement was, I'm not teaching religion, I'm teaching spiritual science. Okay? And that spiritual science was necessary because he felt that physical science, technology, had been overdeveloped. And until we got them in balance, for example, we can do a number of things, but there's climate change, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we're starting to feel the effects of. So technology can give us control to some degree over nature, but nature always rebounds. And so he felt that what Aikido was a study of the universe to some degree through spiritual science. Okay? Anything you get out of that or want to add before we move on?
Just the, observation that obviously post-war Japan had reason to be very uh, leery of new technologies, right? Given all of the war technologies that they wielded and that were wielded against them in that conflict.
Yeah. I mean, even for example, like medication, my partner is going through a second bout of chemotherapy because she was cancer-free from her first cancer, but then another cancer appeared, and therefore she had another surgery, and she's going through another realm of chemo. And she started to complain a little bit about sores in her mouth, which is one of the things that can happen. Not everybody gets it, but it can happen with the chemotherapy. And so they gave her some medication, and it got worse. And so she kind of pointed that out to the people. They said, oh yeah, one of the side effects is potentially it makes the situation worse. Now, she wasn't told that when they prescribed it. So, we say, okay, we have technology, we have control, we have medication, and also, but the science end of it, we control everything through science. And so, what happens there is you find there, since I kind of felt, that spiritual science had to be developed so that it would be more in balance with physical science. Physical science, unfortunately, is just for people in the pharmaceuticals market to make money, oil companies to continue to bring in cash flows of money, and special interests running governments. So it's all about money. Okay. So what is spiritual science? And why did O-Sensei talk about the universe? Well, one of the main theme yesterday was, what if the universe was your cell phone? Okay. Now, for example, this is my cell phone. I went to the laundry room. There's one on each floor. It's a little mini laundromat for the whole floor where I stay. And I forgot this. I loaded the laundry, loaded the dryer, but there's an app on here that I have to do to I mean, either that I got to put money in. It's easier to do this. Load the app up with a certain amount of money, and then you activate the dryer, the washer with this. So all of a sudden, it's like, oh my God, I don't have my phone. So I got to come back and get the phone in order to start the washer and the dryer. So the cell phone is something that most people have. It's a constant companion. You forget one and you're in trouble. Okay? But you also have to know how the cell phone operates. And so that's just the thesis from yesterday was in the in-person test. What if the universe was a cell phone? So I've been with that for the last 24 hours. Cliff, anything you might want to add about that before we try to expound on it?
Yeah, I was able to. I wasn't able to attend in person yesterday, but I watched the live stream.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting, extended metaphor.
Yeah.
Because like in some ways, like Aikido is the opposite of cell phones, right? Like you don't bring your cell phone onto the mat, and you're in the body and not with your head elsewhere, right? Like you're actually in the moment. But if the universe is like a cell phone, and the different apps that can be accessed, you can also get like an operating system upgrade, right? Like you
Yeah,
get
you
more
get
refined.
so what
So it's an interesting metaphor.
yeah, and one of the other things I'm gonna bring up again, because I do this a lot, is in the 60s when he was training at Aikido World Headquarters, Robert Nadeau Sensei goes up to O Sensei and says, I want to do Aikido like you. I'm going to do your Aikido. And O Sensei looks at him and said, that's funny, nobody else does. He said, and O Sensei, everybody wants to do their Aikido. They don't want to do mine. Well, you want to do mine, that's pretty cool. But the other thing that O Sensei said to Nadeau Sensei, he said, and it's so easy, but I can't give it to you. So in other words, you get a cell phone. Okay, it's good. You sort of have to know how to navigate it and operate it. You want something, maybe you got to load an app. You got a ton of apps, you got to locate the app on your phone in order to use it. Okay? So, I've been sort of with this novel concept. Okay, what if the universe were your cell phone? Okay. And no particular place to start, but obviously you've got a phone. If I want to find the laundry app, I've got to know how to open the phone, which means it has a code. Okay. And now it's on the app. But if I were, for example, to close the app, where is it? Well, it's with a ton of other apps. And I got to remember the name of the app. And then I got to tap it. And nothing much here. It lets me know what the washer and the dryer in terms of the times. But if I want to start it, I either need to carry coins with me or I can start it, activate it. I put some money in here. That. So we need to realize that what we're doing, as much as we have a phone and the phone has various programs, we're programming ourselves to be able to use the phone. So if the universe, for example, were your cell phone, all right, I got a dandy new phone, but I don't know how to turn it on. And if I do turn it on, well, what do I do? Well, there's a code to get into it. Yeah, block the screen. And then once there, then I have to, there's a, I have to know how to, I'm programming a phone, but I'm also programming myself. Okay? So one of the things is, let's just check, okay, what's a good entry code? Being very easy, open, settle. Easy, open, settle. Easy, open, settle. They're words initially, but my body starts to relax. I need something, but I'm too mentally kind of stressed. I can't find the app. I can't remember my entry code, right? And sometimes you get something there. Then you got to create a password for it. And you can't remember that. So easy. Too much activity here. I got everything on that phone, but I got to learn to navigate the phone. And I also need to realize that I need to program myself to be able to interact with the phone. So things like centering, grounding, breath, easy, open, settle. That's kind of an important thing. Cliff, anything you might want to say about that? Or?
No, I think yeah, I think that's just it's a good metaphor. That's all
Yeah.
I have right now.
Yeah, because those essays seem to indicate, okay, it's very easy. His Aikido was very easy, but he couldn't give it away. In other words, you had to sort of do your own journey, your own work. And I will give, people like Robert Fraser and Robert Nadeau some credit, because what they did is they realized what Osensei was doing was categorically different than what the other, primarily Japanese teachers and students were doing. And again, going back to what Anno Sensei said, he talked about the universal law. Okay? Yeah. So, entry code. And we're saying right now, it's just too busy, too easy, open, settle. Let quiet down. Okay. So, and a couple of other analogies. came up. For example, this is a touch screen. A touch screen. It opens up. I'm still on the app for the laundry room, but I can go like this, and then I can press another button, and I'm back to the main screen. And if I want to get back to it, it's still on. It's still loading. It's still loaded. But then I'm free to open another app. In fact, I can open a bunch of different apps here. And, could I do that? I got my first cell phone sometime when, it's a long time ago. Probably in the 90s. They weren't anywhere near as good as this. Every couple of years, basically the phones are so much better. You sign up to get a new phone and your bill increases every month, but okay. So how to navigate it, okay. Now, one of the things is, for example, the screen is a touch screen. I go like this. I can enter my code, which I won't share, but all right. And then the screen opens up. Now here, I just want to, what do I do? Well, I have a Guardian app, the Guardian, so if I want to just check and see what's going on in the world. I have other news feeds, but I like the Guardian just for a general sense. All right, then I might go on to other news feeds. Okay, but it's touchscreen. Okay, I want to move to something else. I touch that. All right. Now, I don't want to hammer the screen. And now, later we'll get into something like voice activation, but generally it's a touch screen. So now, what if instead of a flat screen, the universe was a field of energy? And there's a function there. I'm going to activate. I'm going to activate. I'm going to activate. I'm going to activate. Looking at it, trying to find it. Easy, open, settle. Gets you into the field. And there are various, just say, functions or apps. Now, one of the things we did is you touch the app, certain types of energies start to move. Certain types of energies start to move. Certain types of energies start to move. But it's the field. Now here I am thinking, what's going on? Okay, we're caught up in a very dense world. Okay, so we're matter, in a very dense matter-oriented world. In fact, we're biological matter, which means you're very complex. So, somebody's talking about the universe being a cell phone, and I'm going nuts here, or just, or conversely. I like the idea, but I can't, nothing seems to happen when I look for things out there. So easy, open, settle, open the screen. Now the screen here is a field. In practice, that's kind of, so what we do is, yesterday we kind of had somebody grab the wrist, try to move, muscle it. Okay. Activate a point. energy starts to move. I activate the point. Energy starts to move. I'm trying to do something, but the phone, the screen is dark. Maybe I forget to turn it on. Okay, I turn it on. But I don't. I'm just looking at the dark screen. Or conversely, maybe the battery's dead. Got to charge it up. But assuming. So somebody grabs you, dense, physical. That's a point. Touch the point. Energy in that field starts to move. Okay, so we were kind of playing with that yesterday. It's hard to do here because you get the in-person physical contact. And it's difficult. Energy can run around as an idea here, but when Sensei was talking about spirit, there's kind of the sense where you use the body somewhat in Aikido to train the spirit. There's mind as well, but did you catch that yesterday? Because you said you watched the video.
Yes, Sensei, I did.
Okay, so if you imagine somebody grabs you and they're holding with some weight. I'm trying to move. Click. Energy moves. So if we were just say the universe were not a flat screen, but a holographic field, and you could activate that, energy moves. You activate that, energy moves. You activate that, energy moves. And of course, the physical body moving, has a form or a shape that we study. Okay? But again, I think both Nado Sensei and Fraser Sensei were my first two teachers. They kind of realized after a while that, of course, they were doing the physical movements. And, Aikido, they're somewhat studying ki or energy, but, they realized what Sensei was doing was like, unlike what anybody else was doing. And so, that's kind of the thing. I just thought what we do a little bit. Using this, for example. What happens? You have your phone. It gets clogged. Potential viruses, things like that. So you have to have some apps to go clean your phone. So we have this. And let's just say there's a bunch of crud in that field. Boom, boom. We're going to sweep. And we're going to clear it. So that the points I need to activate the energy start to kind of be a little clearer. Now it's just a foggy day. In terms of that, everything is so. And of course, this is with your weapons movements with it. But one of the things in Shinto, they have these sticks with all these streaming pieces of paper, and they kind of do ritual cleansing like everything like that. You got bad vibes, you're carrying a little bit of bad vibes, let's just clean them up. Boom, 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 boom. So, like sometimes when you're waiting for got an app on that's supposed to clear out or look for any potential viruses, and it goes done, 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 done. But, I've got to do that. If I just let the phone get clogged up with a bunch of junk, it doesn't run that well. Okay, got to have cleaner. So, misogi. The misogi movement. It's like you're sweeping, right? Vacuum cleaner's good, but you sweep. And so, just from doing the movements, I have a seat. My body feels looser, freer. My mind's been focusing not so much on I would call it the junk of the world. Certain things you got to pay attention to, but why Donald Trump has red spots on his hand is really low priority. You see what I mean? But you read it on your news feed, that's there, so clean it up. And it goes back to easy, open, settle. And the phone's a wonderful ally. Somebody needs to get a hold of you. I've got a do not disturb thing on it, but the people that I have in my phone can call, because I get so much. Yeah, there's a lot of information out there, so you need a filter. Easy, open, settle. Doing a movement, I get an exercise. No, I'm cleaning out the phone. And again, as I'm cleaning out the phone, I'm also cleaning me out of it. Calmer, looser, freer. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Anything you might want to add, or any observations or questions?
Yeah, I've always found like the movement to make me calmer and looser. I don't sit and do meditation much, but when I'm moving, I can do kind of a moving meditation.
Meditation and motion, yeah. Stillness and motion. Motion and stillness. I'm still, but it's not a live stillness. That's kind of, let's just say, that holographic field. And you activate a point, energy moves. Yeah, you're moving as a part of, but I mean, I'm in the laundry room. There's the washer, dryer. It's all loaded, ready to go. And I got to remember to carry coins, boy. Or I just go click, click on my phone, because I have the app for that. Dum, starts. If I forget my phone, gotta go back and get it, which I did. Okay? And that's a procedure that I might, on a bad day, I might forget my phone. Go there and just pound the walls, because, it's been pretty easy there. Not going to do any good for me to get that I have my phone. I'll go back, get the phone. Okay? So again, I'm programming myself as well as understanding how the phone operates. An easier mindset. Body looser, freer, more centered. Now, one of the great gifts that comes out of that is calmness. Calm. If I need to contact somebody, I can. In the old days, you wanted to talk to somebody, you might have to get on your horse and ride to the next county. Phone, somebody wants to contact you. Now, the point that I made yesterday is, no sense they obviously did not exist in the cell phone era. So it was harder for him. Waves, vibrations in that ether, so to speak. A message in the force, something like that. Okay, I mean, that's getting into popular culture, but in some sense, you know, it's so easy. But if the universe were your cell phone, okay, and more like the touchstone, and then maybe I'm a little too mental. Full body motion, but the mind is present. It's just clearer, not interfering. Now you have to learn certain things. So yeah, you learn to cover, down, and cover, and it's sort of repetitive movement. My mind is pretty bored, and my shoulders start to kind of feel like I'm getting tired. But boom, boom, energy is moving. Energy is moving. Now I just shifted the grip from this to this, but same motion with a different grip. Now go this way, it's a different movement. Boom, 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 back to that from a different grip. Boom, boom. And I could have everything written in my head. Yeah, but these days, you know, you've got all this information. It's just it's in a file in your phone. Okay. Okay. You have to look something up. Google, you get the answer. Yeah. Okay. So, on the other hand, we're all sensei of the universe. And a question you probably asked a lot is, who am I? I know I'm Morihei Ueshiba, born in Tanabe in Wakayama Prefecture in 1883 on December the 14th. And God, but who am I? If you were somebody for whom the universe was a cell phone, who are you? Any speculation on that? It's a big one.
Yeah, you could ask Siri who you are, and what would Siri tell you, right? Like, you know, we are, who are you is a question you can ask over and over, and the answers keep changing.
Yeah, of course. It's
right?
a journey. It's a journey. Destination, yeah.
I took a course in graduate school in ethnomusicology called Music and Identity. And one of the texts, being academic focused, defined identity as the academic metaphor of self in context. So who am I is like, who is the self and what is the context?
Yeah.
Right. And are we a self with no context? I mean, that tends to be kind of the Western thinking, like the self-made man, or, you know, whatever, self-made human. And that's a myth, because self in context, well, self is always in some context.
Yeah.
Right. And
well,
so,
yeah, well, since they put it, there's emptiness and there's true emptiness. The self gets more self. In fact, one of the words, you know, the kototama, right, which we might get into a little bit today. Ame in Japanese is heaven, but from agatsu is self. Me comes from the verb meguru, which is to return to. So self returning to itself. Self returning to itself. But the original of self kind of has almost like a heavenly feel to it. Whether that's heaven per se or whatever it is, that's, again, that's a big question. But yeah, now as self is returning to itself, there's still self defining itself within the context of this and that. Okay. But there's probably more, if we say the more original of who we are. And so as that's there, the things that define self, well, the self gets clearer with itself. The universe itself presents itself in a clearer way. It's your cell phone. They're not your cell phone, but the cell phone is a great tool. It gives you access to a tremendous amount of things. And if you know how the cell phone works, dee. Okay? Boom, 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 boom. Easier, freer, boom. Now, right here, we're holding something, but let's just say that that's one of those points in that field. All of a sudden, boom, energy moves, energy moves, energy moves, energy moves. I'm moving, but I'm energy too. Boom, boom, boom. My energy and the universe can start to team up a bit. Boom, boom. I get freer, lighter. But my mind gets more, not, I would say, sharper, but it gets more discerning. Yeah, that's good for me. That's not going to neglect somebody who's a convicted rapist to be president. That's up to you. The question is, if you have discernment, yeah, but my gas bill was better when he was president. That's fine. But you're doing, you see what I mean? People tend to get caught up in this dense, finer. Just to get to that place where you're open enough to where all of a sudden you're in that field with, and the field itself is like a touchstone. Okay. Now this becomes like a touch point. I touch it, all of a sudden energy moves. Energy in that field moves, but I'm also energy. We can sync it up. Boom, boom, boom. So that's kind of the way that I try to work. Anything on your part? Anything you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been very obvious in the last few years that the amount of chaos in human society, and including the natural environment with global climate change and all that, has been increasing. We're in a kind of a maelstrom. And I think that's all the more reason to be the eye in the storm. You can't make other people behave in a rational fashion. But you can, maybe live an example of, behaving in a more rational fashion and hope that alters, at least locally, the currents of the environment, right? And so, I mean, the election and all of this, this period of post World War II, Pax Americana, right? Or Pax Americana, depending on whether you're doing the Latin or English pronunciation. It was never a fair and equitable system, but there were fewer, there were no big wars like World War I and World War II. And now that that has been assaulted and is breaking down. And, hopefully what reforms will be better and not worse. Right. So if we could go through this period as humanity and make a new kind of peace that was more equitable and less exploitative than Pax Americana has been for the world, that's a good outcome from the current situation. But it's a really difficult situation and it's hard to navigate. And it's the problem
Yeah.
with chaotic forces is they're completely unpredictable, right? Like, how's this election going to go? Nobody knows, right? And are the people going to vote for the convicted rapist or not? You got me, right? Like there's so much at stake, but so much uncertainty. So what can we do? Well, you can, get politically active and do phone banking or whatever. But in addition, you can try and live your life in a way that promotes harmony and peace, right? Like O Sensei couldn't stop World War II. He couldn't change the behavior of the Japanese government that had aligned itself so thoroughly with Nazi Germany and did many heinous practices during the war. But he could separate himself out and create an island of harmony.
Well, the other thing that I think he could do is just by being who he was. It was post-war Japan, I think 1948, the year I was born. The Aikikai, the Aikido organization, which now is worldwide, was the very first, got the charter from the government, which at the time, it was an occupation by America, right? The very first martial art that was allowed to open in Japan was Aikido because of its charter. Now, within that, there was O Sensei, who, to some degree, I think what he was trying to say is, there's his words, but by who he was, what he could do. The human race is capable of so much more than we are settling for. And he would get on the mat and do incredible things that were verging on being magical. And he would talk about in the universe, and he'd talk about, from that balance, what was possible in terms of our society. But he was somebody who was not just talking about it, but he was actually demonstrating what we could be. And if we were all like O Sensei, I don't think there would be wars or climate crises or whatever it is. There's quite a gap between the level that he was at and where the rest of us are, unfortunately. But Robert Fraser, another story, that has always been kind of very, very influential to me, is Robert Fraser. It's his PhD in psychology from Harvard. He goes to Japan on a postdoctoral study. And, he's studying Japanese in Hawaii before he goes to Japan. Does more study of the language there, all right? And he starts Aikido. And, while he's doing his language study, and he goes, therefore, he says, well, I might as well do Aikido when I'm over here, right? I started in Hawaii, and he goes there and he meets O Sensei. And I don't think he'd ever seen O Sensei do anything, but let's just say the vibes, he says, and this is something that Fraser Sensei said that always taken to heart. He said that all the psychology I have studied has to do with psychosis or mental illness. And he said, there's not a psychology for this person because he's so healthy. And this was, I think, before he actually ever saw O Sensei do anything on the mat. There was a connection, kind of deep soul to soul, one soul understanding another one. but a kind of very developed soul, um, kind of meeting somebody who was a seeker after truth or whatever. And Nado Sensei was kind of the same way. They're very different, Fraser Sensei and Nado Sensei, but they actually bonded pretty strongly in Japan, worked together for a while, like when I first started. They both recognized that what Nado Sensei was doing, one, was not Japanese. And two, the Japanese are very good at the practice of Aikido, but that what he was doing was very different than the leading Japanese teachers. So and Nado Sensei seemed to indicate that one of the reasons So Sensei said, I can't give it to you, was that the whole thing might be so easy. It's almost like you come up with a game, like, not necessarily this one, that the universe is a cell phone. And it might take you pretty far. He said it's very simple. And you can put in years and years of doing physical Aikido and maybe never make that breakthrough that he did. And, it's not to be him per se, but is to individuate our own psyche and our own relationship with ourselves and the world and the universe to be our own version of maybe a place that he achieved. Peace. Discernment. Now, there's a lot of chaos. Why does that exist? It's almost like chaos and creation are two halves of the same coin. A lot of times, okay, all we do is just try to impose order on things. Creation is creation. One of my major archetype influences is the jazz musician Chet Baker, trumpet player, vocalist. And his widow said he was a combination of pure genius mixed with never-ending chaos. And there were stories of when Shiba Sensei's family was living in Ayabe, when he was kind of personally more connected to Taguchi and Omotokyo. And he said all of a sudden, it's kind of like that movie Forbidden Planets. They felt monsters moving through the room. Powerful energies, right? Powerful energies. I call them monsters because, oh my God, Godzilla, but easy right there. But, Sensei could take that raw energy and transform it. So, that area right there, why am I doing Aikido? And part of it is the sense that it's Sensei's path that I'm trying to individuate myself on. Okay? And so, I came up with this crazy thing. What if the universe was your cell phone? Anyway, where are we? Let's check the time. Well, for example, you want something. Well, let's say you want a better movement. Well, what do you do when you want to get something on your cell phone? You click on the Amazon. Okay, and then you got to pay for it to some degree. This is the clear. You program yourself to a level. That's paying for it. You just want it. I just want it. Easy. It's personal. Then you put the order in. They ship it. What if the universe is better than Amazon? You want it to do this right there. Well, since they called it no time, no space, universe is better than Amazon. And of course, to get to there, maybe there's some personal development that's necessary. Easier, freer, more open. The ability to discern. not judge. Some physical development, because other than that, I get clogged up in all these ideas. Balance, ground, flow, flow plus. Okay. So there's also, to some degree, an Amazon potential. You want some? And the other thing I thought I'd bring up is we don't have enough time to get into it. And I don't use it very much. Called voice activation. We have a touch screen. But essentially did a lot of chanting. And so, part of it is the Kototama might have been, okay, we got a touch holographic field, touch this, touch that, but also, we start certain, it's the voice equivalent of physically touching. So you're developing touch, which means you're, but also sound. Therefore, breath, I can't make sounds unless I'm breathing. And so there are also various activation codes. So if we were to kind of say the universe is a cell phone, it's just been with that for the last day or two. It's a kind of an interesting thing. Is the docents they put it, Jack, it might be so simple if you kind of come up with the right game, you could get it. What would you get? I mean, you would get a framework. Furo Sensei's spiritual science. Part of the code, phone, you've got your own entry code and everything is personalized. He insisted he was the Dragon King. It was in his blood. It's a personal code. Okay. Anyway, looking at time. Yeah, we're just about there. Anything before we break today?
Nothing really additional at this time, Sensei. Thank you.
Yeah, that was good. I don't know. The class yesterday was kind of a fun one, but on the other hand, I'm not sure, but I went a little further on it. We don't have a physical contact with you, but weight. So you're dealing with weight, right? And that field activates the energies to move. Well, since there's thing with kami, could be code words, voice activation, various flows and energies. Anyway, we will be Sunday in Mountain View. Just a quick update. I talked to Steve Sao Sensei, and he indicated that, the 3rd Street property, interior-wise and exterior, it's pretty much done. Landscaping the outside, and they need PG&E to come in and okay everything, and then it goes to the city. So the tentative thought would be that maybe in March we actually would be open locally. Okay, so, and I talked to somebody else. They said, nah. So, but I like what Steve Sensei said. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Make sure
Thank you,
we,
Sensei.
yeah, make sure that we turn this off.